Hello, friends. I'm Chris. I'm from Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness. Welcome to our video version of our Get Your Green Smoothie workshop. Now, smoothie making is one of those things where a lot of people feel like they wouldn't necessarily need a workshop. And to be fair, clear, and transparent to you, I think there are some things that can come with an in-person workshop. For example, me having ingredients and making smoothies for you so you can have a sample of many different types that it's tough to replicate with a video workshop. But the content, the ideas that I wanted people to leave the workshop with, you can get those same things from this video version. I'm just going to suggest that you tweak the approach in a little bit different way. Now, if you're in the Next Level Human program or you're a guest of a current Next Level Human member, hopefully you've received your bundle of uh, smoothie recipe cards from the Body Thrive recipe book. If you haven't, whether or not you're a member, if you go on to Kate's website, um, look up the body, you can just Google Body Thrive recipe book, and the green smoothie sheet is page 19 of that. And Kate has 17 different recipes that are pretty specific to the Ayurvedic doshas. So I'll tell you about how to make some decisions for starting with that. Now, what I think you'll need for now, you might want to have a journal and a pen. I've got a few prompts, and I think it is useful for you to take some time and record your own thoughts and your own observations. And if there's any ideas from this workshop that you may be able to implement, it'd be nice to be able to write those down. Otherwise, some kind of a smoothie implementing device. We'll talk about appliances for smoothies. There's a whole bunch of options that are available. Um, Ingredients that you use to make a green smoothie. And we'll get started. We'll go through the classroom portion of this, and then together we'll make one green smoothie, and then I'll leave you from there to experiment with these on your own. All right, friends. Well, once again, I'd like to thank you for tuning in for our Get Your Green Smoothie video workshop. Now, recognizing that your time is valuable and you have a very fixed, a very finite amount of time, the fact that you made time to watch this workshop means probably that there's something specific that you're looking for. So what I'd like you to do, take your journal or your piece of paper, take your pen or your pencil, I'd like you to take 30 to 60 seconds. Think about what your needs and intentions are from our time together through this video workshop, and write down 2 or 3 outcomes that you'd like to be able to leave this workshop with. All right, friends, if you need more time, that's okay. Just pause your recording. But otherwise, let's get on to the promises. Now, I think, again, recognizing that your time is valuable, in order for me to show respect for your time, um, I need to make sure that there are certain promises that I'm making to you. And so that's like a bit of a preview of what to cover. What I hope you'll get out of our time together is a sense of the range of appliances that are available to use for making smoothies. Some of the understanding the advantages and disadvantages of those different appliances, and coming down to the bottom line idea that you can make a smoothie with any of those appliances. When to smoothie. My teacher Kate says that when we eat is probably as important as what we eat. So we'll talk about when I think the smoothie will bring you the most good. We'll talk about the use of seasonal and local agreements. I'm going to talk you through avoiding some unskillful, well-intended, but unskillful approaches to making smoothies that you've probably done all along. And friends, full transparency, I have too. So some of these are practices that are newish for me as well. And then we'll talk about creating smoothies for your constitution, your Ayurvedic constitution or dosha, and any imbalances that you may be experiencing. Let's start by taking a look at the right appliance for your smoothie. So options run on a continuum. So there's a quality factor that comes into play for sure. Cost varies really widely. That definitely would be a consideration for me, and I expect that it would be for you. Each of these appliances has advantages and disadvantages, and whatever the appliances that you choose from this list that we're going to talk about, or I'm sure there are other ways that you can make smoothies that aren't reflected on my list. Um, you can make a smoothie out of any of them. So the question that I would have you start with is, what are you using now? I suspect that if you've chosen to watch a recorded workshop on making smoothies, this is not your first smoothie, right? So what are you using now? And is that appliance working for you? Right. So this might look like a joke, but I mean it quite seriously. So in my family of origin, we called an arrangement like this a mortar and pestle, right? My girlfriend calls it a molcajete. So the advantages to this, it's a low to a moderate cost. Now, if you go online to buy a high-end molcajete, they're not inexpensive and the shipping is quite a lot. But I could go to the Houston Farmers Market and I could probably buy a really nice one for 20 or $25. So it's a low to a moderate cost. If you want to talk about an opportunity for an intimate connection with your food, taking the pestle and grinding the food down into the molcajete is a great way to really intimately connect with the food. There's a physical investment, right? So you get a workout for making your smoothie. If you choose to use a molcajete, you're going to have to work for it, right? So getting that movement time in might be really healthy for your body. And this is a tool that is built to last. You could put your molcajete in a will and you could bequest it to your loved ones who remain after you. This is a tool that will last for a long, long time. Now, the disadvantage is probably pretty obvious. It's very labor intensive. It's very time consuming. And depending on what kind of smoothie you're making and the quality of the grind, the fineness of the grind that you want, it may be nearly impossible using a molcajete. But the bottom line is what I would want you to know, if what you have for an appliance is a molcajete or a mortar and pestle, that will make a smoothie. You can use it to make a smoothie. Basic blender, right? So this picture I actually took in a Walmart in Sugar Land, Texas, and this was, I think, a $25 blender, and this is probably pretty close to the appliance that I initially had when I started making my first smoothies. So the advantages are potentially, depending on the blender, potentially a really low cost, and they're quite easy to clean. Usually, you pop the top off. There are a couple different pieces that you can take apart. You can unscrew the bottom, everything comes apart. They might go into a dishwasher. They may or may not be dishwasher safe, but they're fairly easy to clean. Disadvantages, these 20 and $25 blenders are probably going to have a very short lifespan. And you may not be able to get a really fine grind out of it, but this will make a smoothie. If this is the appliance that you have, again, for years I made smoothies, and this was exactly the type of the appliance that I used. Now, if you look at individual smoothie projects, so what I'm thinking here, there are other brands that have done the same thing, but the Ninja brand products. Now, caveat, Ninja does make a blender, right? But like the Nutra Ninja is one that I happen to have, right? So the advantages are it is custom designed for smoothies and small batch sauces. So if the only reason that you want this appliance is for making a smoothie, this is something that was designed specifically with that in mind. It has a smooth, it will come up with a smooth, consistent grind. The teeth in them, the grinders are really powerful. And the cost is pretty moderate. I think if you bought say a Nutra Ninja, and again, Ninja has in other brands have several other products. They have a range, but the Nutra Ninja one is one that I think is pretty solid. Has a moderate cost. If you bought it at its regular cost, I think it would be about $100. Get a discounted coupon from Bed Bath and Beyond from your mother. I don't know if your mother has them. That's where I get my coupons. You could probably get it for $75 or $80, which is within the reach of most families. It has a moderate lifespan. I'm on my second Nutra Ninja. The first one that I had probably lasted me 7 or 8 years, and the one that I have right now I've had for at least 3 years, maybe four. The other advantage is if you're using it to make one smoothie, it's great for making one single smoothie. The disadvantages of the individual smoothie products, it's great for making one smoothie, right? So if you're making a smoothie for 2 or 4 people, this may not be the product that you want to look at because you're going to end up going making multiple batches of this. And the cleaning does take some effort. I will tell you, the most recent generation of Ninja products, um, the top, and if you look at the blender in this picture right here, the very top, there's a little cap that if you pop up the cap, there's some little pieces that you have to come out. So the cleaning takes some effort. It's not terrible, but it takes a little bit of work. Bottom line with the individual smoothie products, they will make a smoothie. Right? And then if you want to look at the gold standard, what's the gold standard for blenders? There's no question in my mind it's Vitamix, right? The advantage, it's the highest quality blender. It has a long lifespan. You can get a really fine grind, and it's a versatile kitchen appliance. So yes, you can use it for smoothies, but you could use it for food processing. You could use it for all these different things. I've seen people make hot soups from cold ingredients in a Vitamix. I've seen people make. I'm not a drinker myself, but I've seen people make margaritas. So you can use this as a kitchen tool for lots and lots of different things. Um, Two big disadvantages from my mind. Let me add a third, actually. It's a high cost appliance, right? So for a blender, um, the low end on the continuum of Vitamix, you're probably looking at spending at least $300. If you wanted to spend close to $2,000 on a Vitamix, I think you could find one. I went online and I found one for about $1,800. So that's one disadvantage. So this is not an appliance that's within reach of every family. The other thing is it takes some effort to clean. So the grinding teeth are in the bottom, and they're not removable, right? So it takes a little bit of finesse. I figured out a way to clean my girlfriend's really well, but it does take a little bit of work. The other disadvantage relative to the other products that we looked at, with the exception of perhaps a molcajete, this is the one that takes up the most space, right? So that's either counter space or space in your pantry. So that may not be the end of the world. If you've got a big kitchen and you're looking for a versatile kitchen appliance that is built to last and is the gold standard, Vitamix is exactly what you want. But those are some things that I would want you to consider. And the bottom line, no surprise, say it with me, this will make a smoothie. All right, guys, we'll move on to when to smoothie. Right, so this could, like, we could be accused of overthinking a little bit, but when can we consume a smoothie to get the optimal nutrition and get the most bang for our buck? I'll circle back to the first and last response here. First thing in the morning, does it make sense to have a green smoothie? Maybe. Last meal of the day, maybe a substitute for that meal, so say 5 or 6 o'clock. Maybe. Between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., that is solid. So if you're in the Next Level Human program, you've seen this dosha clock over and over and over again. And friends, we're not done with it, right? You're going to see this again. If you look at the time period between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., that's a pitta time of day. So this is our fire and water element time of day. We have the most amount of bile. Our digestive fires burn the hottest. So our digestion is most forgiving between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So why maybe in the morning? Why maybe in the evening as maybe a replacement for your last meal, right? And we talk about in Next Level Human, habit one is an earlier, lighter dinner. So soup, salad, or a green smoothie. It depends. If you follow the recipes in the Body Thrive recipe book for smoothies, the one that either I may have mailed you or you may have printed out, that Body Thrive cookbook, I think starting your day with a green smoothie or having a green smoothie as a replacement for your final meal of the day, rock solid. You're good to go. I think all of those ingredients are really easy to digest. But the thing to remember with these recipes are these are really closely following the Ayurvedic food rules, which we're going to go over. right? So if you're adding milk or nut milk or ice cream or anything that's not included on those lists, it's not a green smoothie I would recommend. But if you're going to choose to consume it, I would have it between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And that's where you're going to find your digestive system is most forgiving. So one of the teachings in Ayurveda are the three root causes of disease. And if you've listened to my Dharma talk on this, you'll know that disease are these subtle changes in our body that are sort of the precursor to a diagnosable disease by Western medicine standards. But sometimes these are really subtle. And so the diagnosis may take years to come. The nice thing about these healing methodologies and modalities like Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine is we have cues and indicators that we can look for. So if we're on that track for that disease to be coming in the future, we have some tools where we can stop and prevent that in the future. So one of the root causes of disease in Ayurveda is called parinama, and basically it's being out of rhythm with nature. So can we eat bananas and strawberries in February? Can we find them if we wanted to eat them? Absolutely. The question is, should we be? From a standpoint of Ayurveda, and this happens to be my opinion as well, when we're out of rhythm of nature, even if what we're eating we typically think of as being fairly healthy, it's not in season, right? So we have the potential to create confusion in our system, which will manifest between the mouth and the anus, the digestive tract, as inflammation, right? So where can we find, if we're committed to using seasonal and local ingredients, where could we find them? Farmers markets, right? And farmers markets, I don't remember when my first farmers market was. It was quite a long time ago. Um, but what I've noticed since then is either there are a lot more farmers markets now than there were 15 or 20 years ago, or demand for things, or maybe they're just on my radar more. I do think, I started to say, and I do think demand for farmers markets has increased a lot. You could also join, and this is one of the things that I've done in my life, join a community supported agriculture program, or for expediency's sake, you might call it just a CSA. Now, a CSA is a relationship between a community and a local farm where the community members invest in and support the farm. So they share the risk, they share the reward. So the way what it usually looks like are subscriptions. So citizens sign up for a subscription. Mine, I think, for the one that I'm in, Village Farm CSA, is $27 a week. And with that, I get this great big box of produce, all vegetables in my case. That's what I chose. Um, so I share the risk if I invest in the farm and it's a bad year and the crops are poor, that's reflected in my box that I get once a week. And if the crop is flush, that's also reflected in what I get. So the risk and the reward are shared. It's putting money in the pockets of your local farmers. It's getting food, eating food from people. You look the people who grew this food in the eye. So you can ask questions about, what did you use for fertilizer? What did you use for herbicides? Are these heirloom seeds, or are these genetically modified? So you've got someone right there. You have a relationship with that farmer, and you can ask those kind of informed consumer questions. You can have a home garden, and sometimes, some people have the luxury of having a big space where they can have a great big garden. Sometimes it'll be container gardens, it'll be a smaller space, but even kitchen gardening. So check our free Venmo content out on the Transformation Nation Yoga. I said Venmo, but I meant Vimeo site. Check out the free content there. And we have a kitchen gardening video about alfalfa sprouts, right? Simple, silly, maybe one little thing, but it's something that you can grow for yourself. Again, you know how it was grown, you know the environment it was in, did those seeds and the plants receive love as they came up, all of those things. When the first time I taught this workshop in person, somebody asked me, "What about Whole Foods Market or Sprouts?" Right, and I would say maybe. The advantages to getting seasonal or local ingredients in a place like that, or even here in Texas, HEB, the organic produce in all of these places, often they put a label of where it's from. So you can find out if it is indeed local. And the last use of seasonal and local ingredients is to really start to learn to forage for and harvest edible invasive plants. So I live in suburban Houston, Texas. You would probably think that there wasn't much growing in my neighborhood that you can eat, and that would be a mistake. There actually happens to be quite a lot. I had breakfast tacos for my lunch today. I had three edible wild plants that I harvested from my local area right here. With these edible wild plants, a couple of safety considerations. One, you need to be sure you know what you're harvesting, right? So the first time it might be worth going on an edible plants walk with a botanist. Um, I have training. My background is in natural resources and forestry, so plant taxonomy is not new to me. So I feel pretty comfortable with a field guide going out and identifying things. And I worked as a park naturalist for years, right? Not everybody has that experience. Um, but also check out resources like YouTube and find a local wild edible invasive plant that grows in your community. Search YouTube under identifying wild plantain or identifying wood sorrel or whatever it is that you want to identify. And there's some yahoos on there, so be cautious, be judicious. But there are also some really credible sources. The botanist that I've worked with here in the Houston area says make sure that you're identifying at least five structural features of the plant. And if you've correctly matched five structural features of the plant, in our area here, at least in the state of Texas, you're not going to get yourself in trouble. It may not be exactly the plant you think, but it's also not going to be something that hurts you. What do you habitually put in your smoothies? Right, so take out your journal again, or take out your notebook, take out your pen and paper. I'd like you to take about a minute to jot down things that you typically include in your smoothies. Now, I want you to go into this knowing that in a few minutes it's going to feel like I set you up, right? But that's okay. This is a judgment-free setup, and I'm going to tell you full disclosure on where I come from on this as well. Also, know part of the judgment free, if what you're doing right now is working for you, I wouldn't necessarily change it. I wouldn't necessarily change it. I'm going to give you some guidelines in a few minutes and some things that I'd like you to think about if what your goal is to optimize for consistent, strong digestion, and if what you're optimizing your life for is longevity, vitality, and thrive. And if what you have habitually done in the past is working for you, and it's dramatically different than what we talk about when we talk about the Ayurvedic food combining rules, this could be as simple as just for yourself distinguishing between a smoothie, which you may already be making, and a green smoothie, which is the topic of this workshop. So take I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and then we'll move on. If you need more time, no problem, friends. Just pause the recording. All right. So, you know, this the title of this next slide could be triggering for a little bit triggering for some people, right? So habitually in smoothies, I've put like a pea protein powder. I put some kind of nut milk, and I've combined all kinds of different fruits and vegetables, right? So what I've learned is that with these Ayurvedic food combining rules, it's not really a skillful approach to making a smoothie. So I'd just like to talk through this. So again, start from a platform of asking yourself, what am I doing right now? And is what I'm doing right now working for me? And if the answer is yes, take this with a grain of salt. And then if at some point, if you know that you're doing some of the things that are different than these Ayurvedic food combining rules, this would be the time to step back and go, let me try experimenting with some of these things. All right. How do you feel about the word rules here? Ayurvedic food combining rules. I'm asking you for a reason, and I'll tell you that for me, friends, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't particularly like being told what to do under the best of circumstances. And with something that's considered a rule for me, I really need to know why, right? And if I don't know why, I'm gonna buck against it. So Kate Stillman's book, Body Thrive, I probably at this point have read 8 or 9 times, right? And the first time was 5 or 6 years ago. So these Ayurvedic food combining rules are not new information for me, but me following these is a very new behavior. Why is that? Well, for me, um, the the times in the past where I've read Kate's book, I was on a healthy state of my life, a fairly high compliance, healthy lifestyle. So I was exercising vigorously, I was eating pretty healthfully, I was getting enough sleep. So I felt really good, right? So I would get to these food combining rules, and they were different than what I was currently doing. And if I'm honest with you, what I thought was, whatever, what I'm doing right now is working. Here's what I'm finding. The more I dig in to Ayurveda and the more that I start to follow some of these guidelines or principles or rules or whatever's comfortable for you to call them, the more I realize that I feel better when I do those things. So again, if what you're doing right now is working, I wouldn't necessarily change a thing. But here's some things to think about. From the standpoint of Ayurveda, raw food should only be taken alone or with greens. Why? Combined with other foods, it starts to ferment in the gut, which can look like bloating, it can look like gas, it can look like an upset tummy. So it's not that we can't eat raw fruit rather, but if you're going to eat raw fruit, eat it 30 minutes before you have a meal. Have at least a 30-minute break between when you finish eating that raw fruit and when you have a proper meal. No milk with meals, right? Milk is really hard to digest. In Ayurveda, often, when milk is served, it's served heated and it's served with heating spices. I apply this same rule at this point in my life to nut milk. So if your jam is almond milk or cashew milk or macadamia milk, I think all of those are wonderful. I treat it the same way. Yogurt only combines with vegetables and grains. Right? It doesn't combine with fruits. It doesn't combine with grains. Right? So you'll notice with these Ayurvedic food combining rules, the top three are highlighted because I think these are the ones that really apply to smoothies. Um, I'll go over the other two food combining rules for you just so you know. Eggs only combine with non-starchy veggies and grains. And beans only combine with grains, greens, roots, other beans, nuts, and seeds, right? But these top three are the one that I pay attention, are the ones that I would pay attention to. So that being said, this is what I think, friends. If you've come this far, experiment with this, right? Maybe try out the way that you've been habitually making smoothies all your life. And then change, take a couple weeks or a month and start to follow these food combining rules, starting with the recipes that Kate provides us in the Body Thrive cookbook. Again, that's on page 19, or if you're a next level human, you've probably already got those recipe cards in your hands. And then see how you feel. Maybe do a little journaling along the process, along the way, so that you can remember how things are going for you. Right now, preparing smoothies for your constitution. Um, First, we should talk about prakriti versus vikriti. So, a constitution in Ayurveda or a dosha is a tendency of our body and our mind. So, prakriti is the constitution of our birth, and vikriti is any imbalances that we may currently have. So here's what I'll tell you about this. If this sounds like ancient Greek, for now I wouldn't worry about it. Skip down to number 3. Right. But if you're interested in this and you want to go further, and if you're a next level human, I would say number 1, consult with an Ayurvedic practitioner. Right. So that's included in the next level human program. If you're not in the program, this is something that if you were serious about it, you would have to invest in yourself. Um, you can take an online assessment. You can take a dosha assessment that's in a book, but my experience leads me to believe that anything other than a consultation with an Ayurvedic practitioner, we're really guessing. Right here's why. I probably took 8 to 10 book-based and online dosha assessments, and I was all across the board. And when I finally went and I sat down and I did a consultation with an Ayurvedic practitioner, what I learned was um, half of my responses were based on my prakriti, my dosha of birth. Um, another third plus were based on my Vicrity, and others were me responding based on what I wished I was rather than what I actually am. Right. So that consultation with an Ayurvedic practitioner, if you want to dig into this, is really the way to go. So if that's ancient Greek to you, listen to the wisdom of your body. And if you eat something that doesn't feel good for you, don't eat that thing anymore. Now, if you want to do the consultation with an Ayurvedic practitioner, but you haven't got to that step yet, um, here's what I suggest that you do. Start based on how you habitually respond to high stress. Think about the times that you've really had a lot, you've been under a lot of pressure, and what's your habitual response? And if your habitual response falls in the realm of overwhelm and anxiety, start out with the Vata recipes for smoothies, and then listen to the wisdom of your body. Check in and notice how your body's feeling. If your habitual response to high stress, high pressure is anger and irritation, start with the Pitta recipes. And then check in, listen to the wisdom of your body. And if your habitual tendency to high stress, high pressure is depression and lethargy, start with the Kapha recipes. And once again, listen to the wisdom of your body. Right. So in a live workshop, what I would do is I'd prepare something like 12 to 16 different smoothies, and I would ask you to record your observations based on these. But doing this as a video workshop, you're probably going to be buying ingredients and making like one at a time, or buying ingredients for one or two at a time, and maybe having a couple over a couple days. So I think it's a little more forgiving. It'll be a little easier to remember, but I still think it makes some sense to do some journaling. I'd like you to think about this. If you've ever been to a wine tasting, I haven't drank for years, right? But I've been to a wine tasting, and when I did, they poured a little wine in the glass, and they didn't tell you to knock it back. What they said was, look at it first, swirl it around in the glass, maybe look for the legs of the wine descending down. My dad taught me that. It's an indication that it's a good wine. And then explore the wine with your nose. Smell the wine and take a little sip, swish it around in your mouth, maybe swallow that one, and then you can move on from there. So I'd like you to treat your smoothies the first couple times you make them in really the same way. I'd like you to engage them with all of your senses. So look at the colors and the appearance, smell the aroma, feel the textures in the smoothie, taste the flavors, and take a few minutes, check in with your body's response to each smoothie that you try. And I'd really encourage you to record your discovery. So check out our Ayurvedic smoothie tasting card. That's a good resource. You could print it out, tape it, or hang it on your refrigerator, and that would be a good place for you to record your observations. And with that, friends, the only step that we have left, I'm going to make one of the 17 recipes in the Body Thrive cookbook. Now, here in this case, you'll notice I'm using the Ninja branded product. This is the Nutra Ninja. Again, this is specifically made for making smoothies and things like smoothies. If I was using a big monster blender like a Vitamix, I probably would not have chosen to cut up the greens, the apples, or the celery. But since I am using the Ninja, that choice made the most sense for me. So we got one apple, 2 stalks of celery, cup of greens, and this is probably a generous cup, a little stevia to taste. I use these prepackaged stevia and monk fruit packets. A teaspoon of coconut oil, and water. So I would like to have a texture that's a little bit more liquidy. I don't want something that looks like a stew. I want something that feels like a smoothie. All right, so the lid is on secure. Check the bottom. There's a little bit of a leak here. So I tighten up the seal on the bottom. This is a piece that I was talking about during the slide presentation when I talked about being a little bit of work to clean. When you put it back together, it also requires a little bit of care. Now, I'll pop this down on here, and then so with the Ninja brand products, at least the Nutra Ninja, without any other further direction from the operator, it's going to go for a minute. And for our purposes, I can see from the texture and the consistency that a minute's not going to be necessary. All right, so again, Pitta's Simple Smoothie. And I can look at it and I can see this beautiful bright green color from the greens and maybe from the celery. And the first smell that greets me is the smell of the apple. So there's a sweetness there. And I see little flecks of white on the top. That is, it's wintertime here, all going on to winter, and it's not super warm out. So for Houston, it's fairly cold, and the coconut oil is responded. So the little flecks of white are that coconut oil. It's got a nice, smooth texture and a sweet, wholesome flavor. My body loves this. I actually chose this one because when we did the tasting during the workshop last week, this was the one that, based on the ingredients, I didn't think I was going to think it was anything special, but really stood out to me. Right, friends? So that's one of your 17 smoothies using the Ninja brand product, the Nutra Ninja. Hope this is really helpful for you on your smoothie journey. All right, friends, that's how I would go about approaching making the Pitta's Simple Smoothie. Thank you so much for joining us for the Get Your Green Smoothie video workshop. I hope this has been time well spent for you. If you have feedback on this workshop or questions or any other way in which I could be of service to you, please reach out to me. My email address is right here on the screen, chris@transformationnationyogaandwellness.com. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Transformation Nation Yoga. You could also maybe text first, but my number, this is a US number, 281-728-3896. Thanks so much, friends. I wanted to take a few minutes to tell you about our 12-month Ayurvedic health coaching program, Next Level Human. So this is a program for people that like, I think anyone who doesn't have habits that are fully automated and really working for them could benefit. But people who struggle to have healthy and consistent, strong digestion, people who struggle to get a good night's sleep, people who maybe it's tough to maintain an optimal body composition in the same way that maybe they did 15 or 20 years ago. People that struggle with relationships, people that have compression in their calendar. If that's you or if that's somebody you know, I would really like to talk to you. So this is a year-long program. So we have lots of time to delve into 10 simple lifestyle habits of the ancient yogis. The habits themselves, it's sort of like an onion. There's a really superficial, easy layer that we can take on and we can call ourselves successful. But for someone's interested, each of the habits can go really deep and we can take them on and automate them at a really deep level. What's the advantages to doing this in Next Level Human? Well, there are a few. One is, like, most of us know what we should be doing, right? But the question is, are we doing them? And much of the time, myself included, the answer is no. Why is that? Well, because the skill of knowing the right thing, the knowledge of knowing the right thing to do is different than the skill of how to automate a habit. So we use the best available social science based on human habit evolution. And we also have created a community that's a dynamic group. So if one of us comes, myself or one of our members comes in with a win from the previous week, we celebrate the win together. If one or more of us is struggling with something or has metaphorically tripped and fallen, we can rally around, pick each other up, dust each other off, get ourselves back up on our feet. So we have this 12-week program, Kate Stillman's Body Thrive program, that we go through a total of 4 times. Our experience is most people really, after the first pass, at best automate 2 to 3 habits. So 3 more passes means we can go deeper with those 2 or 3 habits that we automated. It also gives us a chance to pick up those other 7 or 8 habits that maybe we missed on the first pass. So there's a Transformation Nation product pack that comes with this. You get access to Kate Stillman's online um, Body Thrive curriculum, which is excellent. We do weekly coaching meetings. You get a one-on-one coaching session once a month with me. We also supplement this with high-quality yoga, meditation, breath work, and every month we have some kind of a workshop, either a yoga-related workshop or a wellness-related workshop, and some kind of a healthy movement oriented social activity. So again, if that's you or if that's someone you know, I would love to talk to you. You can click the link that I've included with this video to schedule a free 30-minute strategy session. And we can talk through and see if Next Level Human might be the right fit for you and talk together, plan together what your next level may look like.